Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and today we're going to be breaking it down, shaking it down, and making up our minds on the SU-100Y. Now, for those of you lucky enough to be playing on the NA server today, as I ground my way through this tank, figuring out the pros, the cons, the whys, the wherefores, congratulations, you got to see me in full flight at my absolute finest. I had some fantastic games in this tank, and then I had some absolute fluffers, but I got to say, I wasn't very passive in the vehicle. I was very aggressive for the most part, and it suits the tank. I really like this tank, and it's gonna come as no surprise that I do, because it's got a gun on it that I am on record as absolutely adoring. It's the same kind of gun that you get on the SU-100Y and Tankenstein. And if you've watched reviews of both those tanks, you'd know I think they're absolutely fantastic. It's because I really believe this is how premium ammunition should work. You do less penetration with the premium ammo of the SU-130's gun, but you do more damage. And that's the clutch part of it. It is the really interesting part of it. And it makes the tank a very, very different kettle of fish to the ISU-152. Despite the fact that they look, for all intents and purposes, exactly alike. The guns are markedly different. This is a tier 8 weapon, whereas the ISU-152 has a very, very good 122mm tier 8 gun that has over 9 rounds a minute of 400 alpha. A tier 9 120mm gun that has about 8 rounds a minute but a whole lot of pen, and a very obvious tier 9 gun, the BL-10, that whocks out massive big amounts of 640 damage alpha. It's a 150mm gun. Did I say 120mm gun? I meant 150. So that's a very, very different weapons loadout to this. And it's really the guns that make these tanks. In terms of mobility and armor, you're looking at tanks that are extremely similar. Both do 43 kilometers an hour. The ISU-152 has 42 degrees of traverse. This tank has only 36.94 degrees of traverse. And the gun arc is quite small as well. But for all that, I love the mechanic of the shell. If you want to load up premium ammunition, you will do a much higher damage number. The difference in the damage is 460 alpha for your 130mm gun on AP with 230mm of pen, or 530 alpha at 195mm of pen. And I found that in a tier 8 game, you will have, even mostly with tier 9s, if you're being smart with the tank, you're going to get plenty of opportunities to actually put in big doses of that 130mm 530 alpha shell. It's AP as well, which is an odd one. Having 2 rounds of AP, 1 premium, 1 standard, is pretty weird. But that's one of the reasons I like the tanks that I mentioned earlier, Tankenstein and the SU-100Y. I mean, I did a review on the Stur Emil earlier this week, and I made sure that I pointed out that a huge part of why I love that tank isn't that it's super OP and that it's going to be really easy to drive and dominate the battlefield. It's that it's so different because of its gun depression and weird armor profile and lack of a premium ammunition shell, that you put it in really different positions and you play it very differently. And for me, that's exciting. And there's already a bunch of 120mm firing ISU variants. The ISU-122S, you got the ISU-152, you got the SU-152. They all have these 120mm guns that do lots and lots of damage. That's not this tank. It's not that tank at all. But that's the big difference with it. If you're looking for the reason for the sticker price, for me, that's it. That is the gold standard for it. It's different. And I know might not be enough for some people, but for me, that was enough to make me feel like the tank was fun and it was cool and it was dandy. And the idea that you can choose your ammunition types, and I mean, if we're honest, have a look at the tanks that I've enjoyed over time. It's tanks that have always had the Centurion 7-1, the FV215B, the Conqueror. I love tanks where you can switch to a different type of ammunition for a higher potential shell damage. And that tends to be a tank where there's more ceiling, less floor. So you're going to have really, really good high potential damage and quite often have very, very poor actual damage. And those two numbers, the difference and the variation between those two numbers is where the fun lies for me, because it takes the skill set of the driver into account. Then we had Trebor, my amigo, Trebor doing the business, 2,900 damage. And I just thought I'd let you watch Trebor go through his paces there. So how's the tank go? Well, its nemesis is these little buggers here. But like all the ISU variants and the SU variants, there are certainly things you can do to mitigate getting circled of death. Namely, always go next to another bloody tank. It's a massive bonus if you can get a hold of these guys and keep them in front of you. It'll keep you alive, and it will keep the team happy. Whoops, that was a misfire. I didn't mean to press that button. That was very bad. You see me get a bounce there. The reason I got that bounce was pretty obvious, and I'm going to show you a clip of me at a WZ-110 in just a short while on, where are we? Dynasty Pearl. And by the way, I'd just like to say to the American server today, the North American server, that was a super enjoyable couple of hours I had playing, because there was nothing but cool people having a giggle and a chat. Everyone knew who I was. I was getting called out in games, but I got tunneled a bit, but at the same time, I had lots and lots of fun people saying, hey, great to play with you, lovely to meet you, keep doing what you're doing. And it was just a really positive work environment for me today. So you guys rock. You are, when it's like that, it makes my job really easy and really, really enjoyable to play. And that's the way I like to play too, because I don't really place a lot of emphasis on the winning side of things. I like to have a lot of fun. I like to play right, but I also like to have a lot of fun. God, that was a tangent. You can see I'm going to get pushed on by this terrible, nasty T49 from Heater. He knew who I was. He was legit coming for me. And look at our team respond with vigor. Team of headhunters. They all went for me. That's what the 26C4 actually meant. It's a tough gig when you've got to go sideways. You've still got that ability to wallop. That's there with HE, but it's certainly a lower dose than if you're driving a 150mm gun. Now, I don't think this is a better tank than the ISU-152. Not even close. I love the ISU-152 with that 150. I think it's a different tank. That's despite the fact that it's got the exact same look. The gun is everything, and in this game, the gun really is everything. I mean, it makes all the difference. The gun is also interesting. You can see I'm hitting over 500 on these rolls because I'm firing the premium, and then I'm going to get pushed on by this WZ. I'm going to get right down underneath him, and I'm going to use the only bit of armor you got. Watch, this is a great example. So I get pushed on, and we lose this game pretty comfortably too. I think we do 3,000 damage nearly, but watch the way we get a 663 roll. That's your max damage, by the way, with your secondary AP. I'm shoving my gun mantlet constantly in front of the WZ-110. That is the only thing you can do if you're in this situation. You want to keep that gun mantlet in front of them as much as possible. If you don't, then you will absolutely bounce nothing. It is the only bit of armor you have really on the entire tank. The sides of the tank is super weak, super flimsy. Don't let it be shot from the sides. I mean, that's an easy thing to say. It's like telling people, don't let the 183 shoot you. It ain't so easy to really make that happen. But I play it quite aggressively. I mean, you can see there, I was pushing the middle, and you can see I'm pushing the left-hand flank of the map in a TD. I mean, this is traditionally the map where tanks like me would sit at the back and just farm damage, but I mean, I wanted to do something that was cool. I wanted to get video footage that was going to be interesting, and I think we did a pretty good job on it. We've done 700 damage, and it's all been at that Type 62. He wasn't happy about it either. He said, go away. But anyway, then I said good luck all, and I think he didn't take that well. The gun, you can see there's lots of cool people. F-offs is the Type 62. And we follow that up by, there's a blind shot here on this SU-152. I'm pretty confident that's where he's going to be. Yep, that's where he is. He pops as he dies. 1,018 damage. And we're rocking and rolling. I'll show you the first game I played in this tank too. That'll be pretty cool. because I think that was a whole lot of fun, that game. I'm also going to show you the gun. The gun. 0.330 dispersion with a 3.9 second aim time when you absolutely kill it out. There we go. We hit that shot again. It's much better, the gun. It feels than the SU-152's gun or the SU-100Y's gun or the SU-152's gun. It's a proper, like, 0.330 dispersion on a gun that can do 530 damage with a 200mm nearly pan shell. It's pretty good. I mean, you're going to see, I know that Lerver is in there. I know he's there. So just look at the reticle. Just let it go all the way down. You've got 235mm, 30mm of pen on that AP. I wouldn't use calibrated shells on this either. I love this Lerver. He's a great bloke. Well, this is great. Look at him. Look at him here. Unsubscribe. I love it. I love it. Oh, good on you. Good on you, amigo. This is the first game I played on this tank, by the way. Very first game, straight off the bat. I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show you another game on Vineyards from the same spawn by a subscriber who sent in a monster game in the 130 already. So I'm in the traditional TD spawn spot here. I was still reading up the stats in the tank while I was sitting there. I had Blitz Stars open, and then I had a look at Blitz Hanger, two of the best websites money can buy. I've donated to Blitz Stars, and I'm going to chuck a little bit at Blitz Hanger as well, because I believe Sock Robber and the boys, they do fantastic work. And if you aren't using those resources like Armor Inspector and such, I've also bought that in the past. It's something you absolutely have to be doing. So, what do I think this tank is good for? Well, like the SU-152, it's a really, really good breakthrough tank. If you can find someone who you can hit with that 130mm gun for 530, then you can pump the DPM up on this to about 3,550. That's 3,550 damage per minute. That's 6.7 rounds a minute of 530 alpha. So if you can be aggressive and you can get the tank into the front line without taking huge risks, then you can really, really pop with this thing. And admittedly, that can be a difficult task because it takes a lot of finesse to know where targets are likely to be that can hit you, and to actually guide and find that fine line between those 2 points where they can hit you and you can't get shots in, etc, etc, etc. Look at it. I mean, its gun is so much nicer to fire than the normal Russian gun. 0.330 dispersion for a Russian gun is kind of obscenely good, and you can see the shots going. I was thinking when the first game in the tank, I'm like, you know what? I think I could learn to love this tank. I think it's a good tank. Is this one going to go in? Is it what? 4 kills, first game. Happy freaking days. This is going to be an easy review. I was thinking at the time, let's do this thing. But where was I? I should have gone for the RAS or something, but I just shot this guy anyway. I didn't really care. It's not about the RAS. I mean, it's all about getting those big booties off my screen. If you've got a red booty, I need it behind me. I go for a side shot on the tank. It bears mentioning, you forget about this sometimes because it isn't an SU-152 and it doesn't have a 150mm gun, but I went for a side shot with HE just because of the way the tank looked as the first game, and I'm like, afterwards I'm like, you don't have 90mm of pen with your HE, you've got 65. So you've got to remember that. You can't do the HE shots on tanks like you can on the others, but still at all, I mean, that is a great first cab off the rank. 3.5k damage. Played it very aggressively. Played it from the front and did very, very well. It's not as good as this next game though. So let's have a look at this next game from a young human. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the gameplay style, how it goes, why I actually like this one. This is from KSCHMAR. Just the names in this game. Honest to God, online names will never cease to amaze me. They mean something to someone. They really do, but they don't. It's not always readily apparent what that is or who that someone is. This is, again, not super aggressive, but this is a great spot for a tank like this. I run it with camo net. You can see KS is also running it with a camo net. There's not much point running TDs with optics unless you plan on, for some reason, being a spotter. Most of the time, you are not going to be at the front. You're not going to be picking your own meals up. I was really surprised here that he didn't get flogged from the left. There's usually someone in the middle of the map, just to the left of the flag there. I don't know why there's no one there. Across, straight where he's looking now in that little bush, I mean, is 101 for this map. That is where you want to be generally, and there's no one there shooting him. So he's got basically the best spot on the entire map for his team at his disposal, and he's not being punished for it at all. And you can see there are so many tanks spotted, and it's a really weird dispersion of forces that it really, I found this game quite interesting. The defender's been very, very aggressive, and that Comet is being suicidal. That is lunacy. That is absolute lunacy. That's what you call a terrible hit point trade for that Comet. He's just rolled up there, he's made a couple of hits, but he's lost over half his hit points, and he still hasn't backed off. In fact, he's being super aggressive still. And this is just something I see a lot from players who have either had bad streaks or just playing with aggression, or they're playing angry. Putting yourself in that kind of position is just mad. Hey, no shots in yet. We're only 1,000 damage in here, but 2 minutes have gone and there's already a tank down on the red team. And the green team, they could have this really easily if they just kind of play with a little bit of patience. You can see our boy is using that low pen, high damage ammunition, and then getting back behind the rock. Not up to him to tank that damage from OMG, the IS-3 Defender. And he's up to 1,500 damage and looking pretty solid. 9 seconds is the reload on the tank. And you know I love that number, because the reload on your camo, the reset on your camo is 9.8 seconds. That's how long it takes you to reset your camo after you fired a shot. So a tank with a reload of 9 seconds is right in the box seat for that kind of gameplay. If you want to play peekaboo, if you want to reset your camo, think about things, get a good shot off, it's the right kind of tank to be doing it with. Especially if you've got a gun that can actually hit a shot. You don't have any armor, so don't go crazy for that, and you've got crap gun depression too. Yeah, 6 degrees. Just had to look that up. For, you know, don't have all the stats at my fingertips. 6 degrees, so it's not crap, it's just not good. It's middle of the road. 6 degrees of gun depression is okay with a turret. It's pretty average and not really going to do much for you when you're running a tank like this. I'd like to recommend one other thing too. I did go to HE a little too often with this tank. The benefit just isn't there. What do I mean by that? Your HE average alpha roll is 600 with 65 pen. You can get 530 with 195 pen out of a AP shell. If you're going to fire that premium ammunition, it's going to negate the need really to carry any HE at all, apart from the bare necessities that you can use to really finish targets off with a 130mm gun, or hit things like RU-251s or SP-1Cs. They're the kind of tanks that you want to be shooting this at. This is pretty, I think that was actually a very good move by HS. He didn't waste the shot, and then he got a lucky bounce. I mean, he's going to take another hit here from this chieftain, but he's going to clear the tank over there, and he didn't get any damage from that chieftain. If he had fired that original shot at a tiny little target there, it would have given this chieftain a very likely bounce, and then he would have pushed just straight up and shot him again. And now he's put the chieftain in a really tough spot. Great work. I really admire that. That's really smart play. It cost him some of his hit points, but there were 2 tanks there. It was always going to cost him hit points, and as it was, he cleared them both. So his damage now up to 4,354. All he needs is one more big hit, and the game is done and dusted. Only 4 kills for a game that big in terms of damage, 4,768. You might have thought he got a few more, but that is fantastic play. Really well done, and just highlights a little bit of what this tank can and will do for you, the human. Is it the best tank in terms of earning credits? Yeah, it's all right. It's not too bad. I wouldn't say that it's going to, you know, a big game like 3,500 damage will get you 60, 70,000 credits. You're going to blow a lot of credits because you fire a lot of pramo, but for all that, I enjoyed it. Anyway, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Let's keep rocking on and rolling onwards. And yeah, until next time, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.